Right after the terrible events that marked the Tournament of Power, Earth was living in a time of peace. A big celebration was taking place on the planet to commemorate Universe 7's victory. Everything was going well, except for the father of the angels, who seemed a bit restless. Daishin Khan remembered something that had happened in the fighting arena, where a mortal had managed to unlock the incredible power of the celestial gods, Ultra Instinct. When he saw Goku in that form, radiating a terrifying heat, he feared greatly, but only he knew what that really meant. However, the father of the angels calmed down a bit because Goku had not fully mastered the technique of the angels, and he decided to wait before taking any action.
But at a certain moment in the fighting arena, while facing the incredible warrior from Universe 11, Goku reached the complete form of Ultra Instinct. Upon seeing that pure and calm energy rising from the warrior's body, all the gods stood up to witness that mortal perfectly using the technique of the celestial gods. Daishin Khan took 2 steps back. Only he knew what that meant, and then he said, "This can't be. The power of the angels, in the hands of a mortal. I can't believe I'm witnessing the fulfillment of the prophecy with my own eyes." Zeno questioned what the angel was saying. That's when he pretended to be excited by the fight and returned to acting normal. He decided to not act at that moment and kept a natural demeanor the entire time until the Tournament of Power ended. Universe 7 defeated all other universes. The Great Dragon was summoned, and after granting Android 17's wish, everyone returned to their planets. Goku and his friends went back to Earth in celebration. The Xenos returned to the palace along with the guards, and the Grand Priest accompanied them, not revealing that he was surprised by what had happened. However, when they arrived at the palace, the Grand Priest stepped away and released his rage. Then, hiding from the guards, he descended to a place below the Grand Xenos Palace, a place called the Library of Ancient Multiversal Legends. The Father of the Angels read and reread many books until he found the prophecy he was searching for. After a long time, he finally found it, the Book of Chaos and Creation, where the prophecy was recorded. The Grand Priest read the story of the supreme multiversal kings who ruled before Zeno, Zarama, and the powerful and absolute being known as Infinite. Before the multiversal division and before a single being ruled the realm, these 2 beings reigned absolutely. Zarama was responsible for the creation and balance of the universe. He personally ensured that his species was one of the most special. He created the Super DragonBalls, planet-sized orbs that could grant any wish. Then Zarama gave that same power to his children. The Dragon Clan was formed, and now they could create orbs that granted lesser, limited wishes. Over time, those offshoot orbs became trophies for brave warriors of the universe, and later coveted by Frieza. As for Infinite, his role was to represent the supreme entity of power and Kai. With limitless power, he worked to maintain balance, helping other species evolve, always walking the path of light. Infinite was the most powerful being, and he and Zarama ruled their realm uncontested. However, according to the Book of Ancient Legends, there was still another supreme entity that had never been known by anyone except Infinite. Since only he knew of this being, it was recorded in the texts as the Great Mysterious One. The Grand Priest then read that in the past, a terrible threat struck creation. Multiversal beasts, as powerful as celestial beings, emerged from chaos. These creatures came into existence through the force of the multiverse. In total, 7 beasts appeared and began destroying creation. Infinite and Zarama managed to prevail against these powerful monsters. However, the beasts fused into a single body, giving rise to a being that couldn't surpass Infinite in raw power, since the king's power was limitless. But this new monster, born from the 7 chaotic creatures, surpassed them in other abilities and defeated both Zarama and Infinite. The beast roared and took control, destroying the multiverse and bringing chaos. It was then that the kings decided to form 2 new races of beings, the Omnitas, divine creatures who would later give rise to the great Zeno,
And later, the kings created the race of angels, with the Grand Priest being the first and the father of them all. With the help of these two divine races, Infinite and Zarama managed to prevail against the beast, but they couldn't completely defeat him. So they decided to sacrifice themselves. Then King Infinite called upon the Great Mysterious One, and he and Zarama sacrificed themselves, separating the seven beasts once again. But that came at a cost. The two kings were sent to a prison from which they could never return. After their defeat, the Omnitas and the angels imprisoned the seven beasts in 7 separate universes, locking them away forever. But the throne was left empty. No one was ruling over creation, and so it began to collapse. Daishin Kan, the father of the angels, then tried to sit on the throne and rule, but the Omnitas didn't trust him, due to certain attitudes that made them believe he wouldn't be a good ruler. To keep the throne out of Daishin Kan's reach, the Omnitas sacrificed themselves. They combined their powers, dying, but giving birth to the great Zeno, the new, supreme, and absolute entity of creation. The father of the angels was then introduced as the Grand Priest, and that's how the story ended. However, there was a prophecy that one day Infinite and Zarama would return from the prison. They would be freed by the Chosen One, a mortal capable of reaching the power of the celestial gods. And the greatest proof that this mortal had arrived would be his ability to wield the powers created by Infinite. Ultra Instinct, the power of the angels, and Omni, the power of the Omnitas. So far, only Son Goku seemed to meet the requirements. He only needed to acquire the Omni power, and then he could bring the kings back from the prison. However, the Grand Priest did not like this one bit. He didn't want Infinite to return because he wanted revenge against Zeno, to defeat him and take the throne to rule alone forever. The father of the angels then wanted to kill Goku, but he read that he couldn't do that because the book said that if someone with knowledge of the prophecy were to kill the Chosen One, that person would die and Infinite and Zarama would be resurrected. It would trigger a switch. So the father of the angels began searching for another way to get rid of Goku.